Hey yogis, today we're going to do hero pose, boat pose, seated head to knee, and a seated twist. So I'm actually already in a version of hero's pose, but I'm going to talk about an easy modification that you can do. It involves a bolster. You can also use a pillow if you don't have a bolster. You can set your bolster like this, put it in between your knees. You want to have your feet facing directly back. So people have a tendency to sickle their ankle in. What we want to do is have it straight back, and that may leave a little gap between your top of your ankle and the mat, and that's fine. So put the bolster in between your knees, point your toes straight back, and then just sit back. And so we want to have a nice firm posture, nice strong standing posture here. And this is hero's pose. This is a modification of hero's pose. If you're a little bit more flexible in the knee and the rest of your legs, you can pull this bolster out. You can bring your knees together. So have your knees touching. Spread your feet just outside of your hips. So when you come down, you want your butt to be right in between your knees, or your ankles, and touching them. So to do this, come very slowly down and see how far you can actually go down to the mat. And so what I like to do is put my weight into my hands and slowly lower down to see what's available for me. So some days you may be able to get all the way down, some days you may have to be up a little bit. If you need to be up a significant amount, you can either use a bolster like I showed you, or put a block underneath it. And if you can lower yourself all the way down. Make sure your ankles are firmly pressed against your butt. Now if this bothers your knees whatsoever, come out of the pose immediately. So we want to be stretching the muscles around the knee, not the knees themselves. And so you can hold this for 30 seconds to a minute and come back out of it. Our second pose we're going to do is called boat pose. And so this is another really important upper body posture pose. It can be very challenging. And so we come into this and kind of come into a seated position with your legs away from you. The full version of the pose is us leaning back with our back perfectly straight, our legs lifted, hands off the mat. And so modifications for this is you can keep your hands on the mat. It makes it a little bit easier. You can lower one leg, have it a little bit lower, but maintain the straightness in your back. You do not want any rounding in your back. This is not a good boat pose to be doing. It'll injure your back and it doesn't properly activate these muscles. And so this is a really good core exercise. It will really strengthen your abdominals. The next pose I want to review today is seated head to knee, Janu Sirsasana. This is a pretty difficult pose for me because it kind of pinpoints all of my really tight areas. But I'll show you as far as I can go, and I'll put a picture in the description as well to show you how other people can go into it, because you'll probably be a little bit more flexible than I am in this pose. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring the bottom of our foot to our inner thigh, and make sure you do this on both sides. And so you want to have this leg nice and straight, your toes pointing up to the ceiling. You're going to want to rotate your body so that it's directly over your leg. So you kind of want your hips facing over this leg, and you're going to inhale, nice long spine, and exhale, fold forward. So for me, this is about as far as I can come. I'm feeling a pretty intense stretch in my calves and my hamstrings right now. And I know if I was to round my back, I could get lower, but I really want to work on this part of the stretch, really get my legs stretched out so I maintain a firm upper body. But like I said, make sure you do that on both sides. It's easy to switch out to the other leg, rotate over, and lean forward as much as you can. And so there'll be some people that'll be able to reach their foot. They'll be able to wrap their hands around their feet. The end of this pose is forehead to the knee. Like I said, I'll show you some pictures of that in the bottom so you'll be aware of how to do that. But you want to maintain the length in your spine the entire time. So our fourth pose for today is called a seated twist, or it's a version of the seated twist. So we're in our seated position. By the way, I didn't mention this before, but when we're in our seated positions, we want to ensure that we're on our sits bones. And to do that, we can literally pull the flesh of our buttocks out on both sides, and we can get better grounded on on the mat. So to do this seated twist, we're going to bend one knee, and this one I'm going to bend my right knee. Bring it in. We're going to inhale, lengthen the spine, and on an exhale, we're going to reach back and twist our body. So you want to have a nice long spine the entire time you're in this pose. And inhale, length. Exhale, twist a little bit further. Now, if this is easier for you and you can easily hold your leg, you can also move your arm to the opposite side. Inhale, length. Exhale, twist. And exhale, untwist the pose. And like I said, always make sure you do both sides. So you'll bend your left knee. You'll keep your right leg perfectly straight, toes facing the ceiling. You're going to inhale for length. Exhale, twist. As you hold the pose a little bit longer, you'll find you'll be able to twist a little bit more, but make sure that you're extending through your vertebrae the entire time. The more length you get in your vertebrae, the better. Don't forget to post up after you're done. If you have any questions, just let me know.